anticipate a copy. Thank you. We anticipate a copy of the recording will be made available on the Low Carbon Transportation Investment and Air Quality Improvement Program Meeting and Workshop webpage in no more than 2 weeks. In addition, we'll be leveraging the Zoom's raised hand feature to facilitate comments and questions. I will do that at the end. We also have translation services to Spanish. And if Mark, you want to go over those real quick, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd. Sí, muy buenas tardes a todos que nos acompañan. Aquellos que deseen escuchar el programa en español tendrán acceso a interpretación al vivo. Lo que tendrán que hacer es buscar un icono con un globo en la parte inferior de vuestra pantalla que dice Interpretation. De ahí seleccione su idioma Spanish o español y tendrá la opción de silenciar el audio original si lo desea hacer, pero sí podrá escuchar el programa enteramente en español. And for English listeners, if there happens to be a comment or a question in Spanish, you can also listen to a live interpretation. You would select the globe icon at the bottom of your screen that says interpretation and select your language, English. You'll be able to hear the live rendering of any comment received in Spanish into English. And that's it. Thank you, Eloy, and thank you back to you, Todd.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. So once we get that going, super excellent. Love it. Thank you, Eloy. Let's see here. Let's see. Also, super. We're all ready to go there on the interpretation. As always, we appreciate your patience. If we run into any technical glitches, let's just jump right into it. It looks like we have quite a few people online now. So let's jump into slide 2, if you would, Eloy. Appreciate it. Just a quick rundown of things I'd like to cover today. First, an overview of the core program. We'll then discuss the professional landscape portion of the core program. We'll cover the previous work group and feedback and comments highlighted. We'll talk about the final implementation manual, attachment D highlights. I do have to say we've come a long way, and I appreciate everybody's participation in this process. I think the document that we have finalized is really good and will really make this program really smooth and easy to operate. So thank you for all your comments and questions, and it really helped develop this document. As part of the final implementation manual review, we'll also discuss the voucher amounts and the eligible equipment. Jacob from CalStart will review the basics on how to participate. We'll then review the next steps. Slide number 3. Now, a little overview of CORE. I know this is the 4th work group for this portion of CORE, but we may have new participants. I want to get them up to speed so they understand the CORE project. CORE is intended to accelerate the deployment of advanced zero-emission technology in the off-road sector by providing a streamlined way for fleets to access funds which can help offset the incremental cost of such technology. CORE targets commercial-ready products which have not yet achieved a significant market foothold. This program allows stacking, which means you can use funding for this program and other incentive programs, but still need to follow incentive rules for each. Also, CORE does not require scrappage of one of your current pieces of equipment. The program is a first come, first served program, which is user-friendly and has a simple voucher process. Currently, CORE is providing vouchers for larger off-road zero-emission equipment, such as yard trucks and forklifts. SB 170, which this portion of the CORE project is dealing with, specifies funding for small businesses or sole proprietors funding professional landscape services. Slide number 4. Here's a quick overview of the final implementation manual basics. First, the micro businesses will be provided a $10 million set aside for the first 180 calendar days for voucher launch. Second, the incentive amount will be 70% of the equipment, battery, and charger MSRP to an up to amount depending on the equipment, battery, or charger. Also, there will be a $25,000 per eligible purchaser and allows multiple batteries and pieces of equipment purchase or base voucher. Slide number 5. Here are some of the updates we included from stakeholder comments. The grouping of equipment types was confusing, so we divided the equipment types line by line. We clarified the battery and charging equipment. We added another battery option. Now is a greater than and less than 700 watt-hour battery options. Power management systems. We have limited to 2 per participant, up to $5,000. There's much discussion about battery recycling during the last meeting. We added language to help. We hope will create an easy way to recycle batteries. To avoid confusion, we want the purchaser to be a single contact. This will also help keep a single purchaser under the $25,000 per customer limit. We require the dealer to have a physical location in California. This will help the owner receive the equipment ready to operate, have the ability to receive training on the equipment and safety training. If there's an issue with equipment, the owner can return to the dealership for repair and service. Slide number 6. As I mentioned earlier, we divided the handheld equipment types into separate lines. We hope this is clear and less confusing. Slide number 7. We have also listed out batteries, chargers, and power management equipment, which could be purchased with your voucher. Slide number 8. We have touched on many of these things in the past bullets, but let's review one more time. The voucher amounts are based on a 70% of the manufacturer MSRP in the core equipment catalog. Up to 2 power management devices, up to $5,000 per purchaser. Funding is capped at $25,000 per eligible purchaser. Equipment must not be sold at no less than MSRP indicated in the core equipment catalog. Equipment must be listed in the core eligible equipment catalog and must be purchased from an eligible core dealer. Slide number 9. Here's a simple sample. Say an owner wants to purchase one backpack blower and to add to his fleet of equipment. If they're a small business and professional landscape business, they need to work with a core eligible dealer where they can choose an eligible backpack blower, 70% off MSRP up to $400. Working with a dealer, they can determine that they needed, say 3 batteries greater than 700 watt-hour to work a full day. They can get the 3 batteries, 70% off MSRP up to $3,000. They can purchase a charger, 70% off MSRP up to $5,000. Since they're only purchasing one tool, they can only purchase one charger. They can also get up to 2 power management systems to charge several batteries. With that, I will pass it over to CalStart and Jacob to review the steps on how to participate in the core program.
Thanks, Todd. Next slide, please. So from lessons learned from some of our sister programs in our heavy duty segment of the core project, we've implemented the manufacturer steps to participate. Step 1, the equipment application process can be found in the core IM attachment D, professional landscaping equipment eligibility application, which you can find also on our website at californiacore.org. The data will be submitted to the California Air Resource Board for evaluation. The second step in the manufacturer application process is CARB will review the materials submitted in the application against the criteria set in the equipment eligibility application and deem equipment either eligible or ineligible into the core catalog. If the equipment is deemed eligible, CARB will issue a equipment eligibility letter to that manufacturer, and their equipment will be listed in the core equipment catalog on the core website. We are also hopeful that manufacturers and dealers will help purchasers and provide training and development and support to learn how to use this zero emission equipment in the most efficient manner. Next slide, please. Once a manufacturer becomes eligible in the program, now we need their dealer network to become approved. And so there is a process that's in place for dealers to participate in the program. There's a few steps, and the first being to take a quiz, which you can find on our website at californiacore.org. There's a quiz that will test the dealer on their knowledge of the program to ensure they understand the requirements. The dealer must receive a 100% score, and the dealer does have multiple attempts to pass the quiz. The dealer must submit the required documentation, which includes a dealer registration form that includes dealer terms and conditions and a W-9. Those must be completed and signed and emailed to the project administrator, CalStart. And the dealer must receive either a letter on a letterhead or email, some type of correspondence from the manufacturer authorizing them to participate in the core project. The last step will be to attend a dealer information session training. CalStart will be holding 4 trainings throughout the month of October on Thursdays. And then we will be holding 3 more trainings in November to give a total of 7 opportunities for training prior to opening for vouchers. Next slide, please. And then the last step in the process to participate is for our actual end users or our purchasers. And so once an equipment manufacturer has received eligibility in the core equipment catalog, their dealer network has a variety of dealers throughout the state that have gone through the steps and approved. Now purchasers can come to the project to submit their vouchers to receive their discount on their new eligible zero emission pieces of equipment. And so the purchaser will contact one of the core approved dealers, which will be listed on the core webpage. The purchaser will work with that dealer to select eligible equipment. The dealer will complete the voucher request form on behalf of the purchaser. That will be submitted through our online voucher processing center. The purchaser will need to provide some boilerplate information to submit a voucher. And some of those items include a purchase order. They will need to supply driver's license or identification card and number. And then they have an option between a couple different pieces of information to verify their small business and professional landscaper status. And those details can be found in the implementation manual. Once the voucher has been issued, the purchaser can make final payment and take equipment delivery. And then CalStart, the program administrator, once all the redemption paperwork is paid, will pay the dealer directly the voucher amount. And the final step for the purchaser dealer is really ensuring that the purchaser receives operator training from the dealer. The equipment is operable and ready to go at the time of delivery. And that's it. Throw it back to Todd.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob. Really appreciate it. So the next steps is tomorrow morning we'll open up the acceptance of manufacturer eligible equipment and eligible dealers into core. We'll keep manufacturer and dealer applications open for the whole project. But if you want to be on the list when the vouchers open, please have your manufacturer's equipment and dealer's eligibility in by October 21st. So that's the big date, October 21st, get that stuff in there. Doesn't mean that we'll not be accepting things after the 21st, but if you want to be on the webpage when we kick off, have that into us by October 21st. Hope that's clear. So then hopefully on November 7th is we're putting out there, we'll have the program ready for the dealers to get vouchers to the customers, and they can purchase zero emission pro landscape equipment. So early November, we're shooting for November 7th. That's not set in stone, but we're really looking to get that done then. We'll start the first come, first serve voucher process. We've had some questions about confidentiality of information coming in. If you're concerned about your information you send into us is confidential, first of all, only send us information that we require and not confidential information that's not required. If you do consider yourself business confidential, contact myself or other CARB staff, and we can show you and work with you on how to submit your information in a confidential way and correctly. So we can do that for you. So the last slide here, again, my name is Todd Sterling. Here's my email address. I think that's the last slide. If you have any questions about core or comments you think of later today or tomorrow you want to share with me, please send me an email. We'll open up the questions and comments. We ask that you raise your hand and let us know who you are if you want to make a question or comment, and then Eloy will unmute your line. For those of you participating via phone, please press *2 to raise your hand, and please state your name and affiliation. Also, we are unable to allow anonymous meeting participants for security reasons. Please make sure your name is clear on the Zoom platform. Okay, so the last slide with my name and contact information to get on this final slide. You can always contact me at todd.sterling@arb.ca.gov. And I'll repeat that again before we end the presentation. So with that, thanks for your patience and thanks for listening. I'll ask Eloy to open this up for comments and questions, and we can open up the lines now. So thanks, Eloy.
No problem. Thank you, Todd. First up, we have Ben Wong. Ben, I'm going to go ahead and open up your mic. You might need to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm sorry. I did not realize I'd raised my hand. I actually don't have a question, but I do want to just comment that the flexibility that we're providing to particularly mom and pop businesses, many of whom are maybe less sophisticated in business than other corporate entities, and these are probably mom and pops that aren't going to come close to using the $25,000 limit on the vouchers. I think it's important. At the end of the day, it's about cleaning up the air. And so the flexibility you provide in the kind of documentation to facilitate better adoption of this program, I think is critical. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. That's important. Thank you.
Let's go to Thomas Foti. Thomas, I'll unmute your line, and you may need to unmute your mic.
Yep, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I am looking on the implementation manual. I do not see where this looks like the implementation manual is for the heavy equipment, which has a completely different, I think it's $130 million grant or whatever program. I am curious to know the purchaser, what kind of identification? You said a driver's license, and what else? Are you looking for like some sort of EID number to make sure that they have that the individual has a legitimate business, or is this literally going to be open to anybody who, for instance, is getting paid all in cash? and not paying taxes.
Yeah,
in the-
so Thomas, the required supporting documents that must be submitted with the voucher request by a dealer is everybody has to submit either a California issued photo ID or a California issued identification card. So that's step one for everybody. And then there's kind of a clearinghouse of options for the next documents. You can submit a C27 landscape contractor's license. You can submit, your business entity number from the California Secretary of State.
Yep.
You have the option to provide a copy of your current and valid business license. And there's an option for a business card. And then if a dealer chooses, they can provide a attestation acknowledging that the purchaser is a small business. And so there's a clearinghouse of options outside of the requirement of a photo ID or driver's license to give flexibility to all the different stakeholders and business types that operate in this segment.
So what I heard there was that you are going to allow anybody with a business card and a valid driver's license to get up to $25,000. Is that accurate?
Almost. They will also need the dealer to sign off on, their acknowledgement that this is a small business. And then we have mechanisms in place to work with dealers to ensure, we're focusing the funds on the right equipment and purchasers. And if we do find that there is some type of mishandling, then we have a procedure in place to remove that dealer that has, signed off from the program. So it's a photo ID, business card, and dealer attestation.
Right. So, I mean, that's fair. However, regardless, it's still, the funds are still going to be going towards individuals that, yes, have a business in California, but may or may not necessarily be paying taxes. Correct? I know you don't necessarily want to say yes, but that's inevitably what can happen. Is that fair?
I think that's potentially a fair statement, but we definitely like to hear more about that. And these are the items we've come up with through the the 4 work groups that we've held.
Yep.
We are trying to provide flexibility to the stakeholders in this industry that operate this type of equipment.
Yep. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I fully understand the idea behind it. I think it's laudable that it's even getting done. It's just a little, the industry is exceptionally tight as it is, and there are many individuals out there who don't pay taxes and undercut prices significantly and do unprotected work, et cetera, and they, with knowing that this program is available, they have the ability to be rewarded for working under the table. And I think that's a little bit of a unfortunate circumstance. I understand, I fully agree with cleaning up the air and such. Anyways, that's my comments, and I will mute myself because I've probably spent far too much time as it is. I appreciate your answers and your.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I also want to add that, Thomas, if you're having a hard time finding the current implementation manual, I want to note that CalSTART has updated the core webpage. And at the headers there for, say, participation, if you click on that header, it'll open it up to either give you option for heavy duty or pro landscaping. So the web page has doubled in size and has all the information for either your heavy duty information you're looking for or your pro landscaping information you're looking for. So it's pretty easy to find. If you need to help with that, you can always give us a call. We can help you out with that.
And as we move through the folks who are standing by with their hands raised, I do just want to reiterate, if you do have your hand raised, if you can just let us know if you're representing someone or if you're a business owner, and basically state your affiliation. That would be much appreciated. Let's go ahead and go now to Dan Mabe. Dan, you are your mic is open. You might need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi Eloy, Todd, Jacob, Dan May with the American Green Zone Alliance, AGZA. I just wanted to clarify the 70% off. That does not include the sales tax. I would hope that we can clarify that. And the sales tax, if you can tell us, is it going to be on the original price before the 70% reduction?
That's a good question. I haven't heard this question in a long time. I don't remember from the heavy duty side how taxes are charged from through the dealer.
Yeah, I think it would just be helpful doing this with a few air districts. People that, it was 70% off of retail with a few of those programs. But then when folks went in, they were like, hey, what happened to the 70%? And because they ended up having to pay sales tax on the original MSRP. So I think some clarification on that could really help moving forward. That's all.
Dan, I believe it's the sales tax. Sales tax is for the equipment pre-voucher cost. Got it. Okay, that makes that's in alignment with what we've seen before. So we'll make sure when people ask that's the information they receive. And we'll be getting into that real detail in our dealer trainings with all of our dealers. So perfect. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. Thanks, Dan.
Let's go to Chris. Chris Benz. Your mic is open.
Thank you. Chris Benz, Napa Climate Now, community activist. How can dealers sign up to participate in the trainings?
So if you go to our website at californiacorps.org or dealer does, there's the participate page for professional landscapers, and they can go to that page and it will have the steps outlined on how to participate. The dealer trainings will be sent directly to the dealers once they've gotten to a certain stage in the process. So those dealer trainings are not open to just anybody. They have to go through certain steps and then be invited to those dealer trainings. So they need to take the quiz and then submit the required documentation, and then they'll receive an invite to attend the dealer trainings.
And one more question, does the manufacturer have to propose the dealers first, or can dealers go ahead and sign up?
Well, they could do both. So the manufacturers will be, providing us with lists, but dealers can come to us directly as well. But all dealers will need a authorization from the manufacturer to participate.
Thank you.
Let's go to Joe Goulden. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Joe Golden, work for Echo Incorporated, a manufacturer of handheld outdoor power equipment. I don't know if there's an example of one of the user experience surveys, or is that something the manufacturer creates and then submits it? It says for approval. Do I understand? Is that correct, or is there a template that we need to follow?
You're referring to that requirement in the eligibility application?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something that the manufacturer can submit as part of their application. And then work with CARB and CalSTART on just final approval. There isn't necessarily a template.
Is there a reason why that's even carried out for this equipment? Since
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things that we want to do is make sure that the equipment that's going out is meeting the needs of those folks who are participating, that it's met durability and it's meeting the expectations that it is equal to its internal combustion counterpart. And if we can find out if there are issues in service and repair, or if there's something that maybe that we get feedback on, or hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that's part of the process that we do, just to make sure that the equipment is both being utilized and that it's meeting the expectations for the end user.
So it seems the current core program is based around much larger equipment than the stuff that my company sells. This is likely to result in potentially thousands of surveys, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that no one has to bear that burden right now in the core program.
We have hundreds, if not we have several hundred pieces of equipment out there. I don't want to say in the thousands, but I think, but it's a significant number.
And regardless of all of that, so Joe, the user survey is actually necessary because these dollars are specifically for small businesses and sole proprietors as they transition to the zero emission usage. So we actually do need that information, and so if there's we'll have to deal with the processing issue as we receive them for sure.
And Joe, we can work with the manufacturers, like I said, on the development and the specific criteria. We're open to suggestions, through the equipment eligibility process. So feel free to reach out to the CARB staff or us at CalSTART, and we can talk through those things.
Okay. One more question. End of life disposal plan. Is that above and beyond what's required today, or I guess I'm not sure what that looks like.
No, we talked about, this was a big discussion at our last meeting. So we included in the final implementation plan that, some manufacturers already have a, turn in your old batteries, you can get a discount on a new battery at the dealership. And if that's not the case, there are national programs out there that can recycle batteries. We just ask that you follow your state and local and federal policies when you do that. That's all.
And if they don't have a turn in an old battery type program, is that an issue, or?
Well, there are national programs that can get those set up at the dealership also. So we're looking at leaning on them to help us out with that, and make sure that these batteries dispose of properly.
So I think the goal with that metric in the application, Joe, is to ensure equipment that's flowing through this program with state dollars, that there's a conscious effort on what's going to be done with the battery at the end of its life. And so, what we've heard from some manufacturers is that, they are a participant or part of, certain recycling programs. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to provide an incentive when someone brings it in on discount on a new battery, but that the manufacturer does have a plan and or does work with its dealers or other entities to recycle those batteries at the end of their life. So that's the goal for that criteria in the implementation manual.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for a lot of us is the larger the batteries get, with the more power they get, the more restrictions there are that exist for those batteries. So it becomes a bigger and bigger deal for everybody as time goes on. I mean, I'm sure the recycling programs will mature too, but it's definitely an issue for everybody. So
yeah,
okay,
and Joe,
thank you.
You could provide that narrative in your application, and we're looking to learn as well. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're gonna hold off on some of these raised hands. We're gonna switch over to some of the written comments. But before I do, I just want to remind those folks who may be listening in through our interpretation services that they're welcome to write in a comment or verbally provide their comment in Spanish through our interpreters. Matt, I'll turn it over to you for our first written question and answers.
Thanks, Eloy. Our first question comes from Sandra Gerard. She asks, can you please explain how the contingency list works for those who applied for vouchers in the first 180 days of the program, the microbusiness participation window, but find out that the allocated 10 million for the microbusiness is already exhausted?
Do you want me to start this out, Jacob? Do you want to start it out?
Either way, I mean, I can take it. I'll take it. So
okay.
For either of the two categories, even if it's micro business or it's just the normal, small business funding pot, if either of those, oversubscribe within the first 6 months, there will be a contingency list, held and created. If there is funding left over in either of the two, after 180 days, then CARB and CalSTAR will follow the requirements in the implementation manual and fund the contingency list with money from the other funding pot that was undersubscribed. There could be new metrics put in place. There could be elimination of the contingency list and just reopening vouchers. It just depends on what the status of the program and the segment is at that time, but that's the general way the contingency list would work. So specifically to your question, if you're a micro business and you apply to that funding pot and it's oversubscribed, then you would have access to the small business portion of the funds.
Yeah, essentially, we would follow the timestamp of submittal for your application. So if you are a part of the contingency list, it would be following the timestamp on when you submitted it.
Okay, our next question comes from Thomas Foti. Where's the manual to see what is needed for a purchaser?
So again, that's on the core webpage. And that's at californiacore.org. If you go to participation, I go down to have a pull down box, go to pro landscaping, and that will lead you to the different ways to participate with the program.
We had a question from Randolph Wim. Can you please show slide number 7 again? I don't know, Randolph, if you had any further questions on this slide, feel free to raise your hand.
And I'll just add, Matt, that this is taken right from the final implementation manual, which can be found at californiacore.org. Also, if you can't find it, it's not really buried in there, but if you can't find it, you can always reach out to me at todd.sterling@arb.ca.gov. I'll be more than happy to send it over to you.
Our next comment comes from Ian Ledbetter. A November 7th release will be sooner than CARB's Moyer Reserve lawn and garden vouchers run through the districts will be available, as guidelines will not be available from CARB. This makes stacking unrealistic.
It is a little bit earlier than Moyer, but I don't know how long this money will be around. It could be around for a long time and have lots of abilities for stacking. Moyer has not started out yet, but when it does, there is the ability to stack with Moyer and maybe other district programs.
All right. Our next question. So you please provide this is from Jessica DePrima. Can you please provide a definition of microbusiness?
The microbusiness definition is in the final implementation manual. We can post that. We can post that in. Can we post that in the Q&A so everybody can see?
I just posted it in the
Oh,
chat.
thank you, Jacob. That would be in there.
Right.
The definition is in there. I had it open here earlier, so just kind of go over it real quick. Microbusiness, together with affiliates, have an average gross receipts of $2,500,000 or less than over the previous 3 years, or is a manufacturer as defined in Subdivision C with 25 or fewer employees. And then after 2019, $5 million. So basically, a microbusiness is 25 or fewer employees with an average gross receipt threshold of $5 million.
All right, and this was another question that was asked by other stakeholders as well. Next question, we have a series of questions from Lauren Elkin with Valley Memorial Park. First one is, I don't see an explanation of what you mean by base voucher for batteries. If we purchase 3 line trimmers, does that mean that we could buy up to $1,000 for each line trimmer if the battery is under 700 watt hours? Or $3,000 for each line trimmer if each battery is greater than 700 watt hours?
Yes, that is accurate.
So maybe we can go to that, I think it's slide number 7 again with the batteries and the chargers. Maybe I'll clarify that one, that question. It does, the slides do limit, there are lots of footnotes in this. So I think it would be much clearer reading through this page on the final IM.
So it's page D4. That's the
Okay,
page.
our next question is again from Lauren Elkin. SB 170 provides incentives for professional landscaping services in California operated by small businesses or sole proprietors to purchase zero-emission small off-road equipment. I understand the need for a driver's license for a sole proprietor. If we are a California registered small business, LLC or corporation purchasing the equipment, why do we have to provide our private driver's license for the voucher application?
That is just what we're requiring everybody to submit to be in the program. It doesn't have to be a driver's license, it could be a California ID also.
Okay. The next question from Lauren Elkin is, the name of the business is what our city lists on the business license, and the name on the driver's license will not match what is on the business license. Does this mean our voucher application will be rejected because the names do not match?
No.
Jacob, no.
No. The short answer is no.
Okay. The next question is from Gabe Fu, is indicating that he had submitted a petition to include robotic lawnmowers in the program, and has asked if there's been time to, will we have time to review and approve or decline the request?
Yes, thank you, Gabe, for that information. We have met with a couple different autonomous mower manufacturers. We didn't think that this was a place for small businesses and sole proprietors, so we did not include it into this incentive program. But we do want to note that it could be in the Moyer program, for where they're switching out a like for a like, right? So a walk behind or a riding mower, it could switch out for that. But at this time, we did not include in this program.
Our next question comes again from Lauren Elkin. The entity information lists the name of the company and the agent. Does this mean the agent listed under the entity information will be the only person who can apply and sign for the eligible purchase on the voucher? I don't know if Jacob, would you be best positioned to help answer this question?
So we do define what a responsible official is in the IM. And so that's on page EA1. It, you know, it must be someone that has some authority at the business. What it can't be is, you know, a staffer. We don't want, you know, Jacob Whitson Landscaping and 4 of their employees, you know, applying to the program. It needs to be the responsible official of that entity.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. Another question from Lauren Elkin. Looking at the voucher steps and process under step 2, after the terms and conditions are signed by core approved dealer and eligible purchaser, is the document then sent back to CARB for final review and then issued?
Yeah, so step 2, number 2, terms and conditions are signed by core approved dealer and eligible purchaser. If that's what we're talking about. Once that step is completed, the voucher is actually issued. So that terms and conditions form that the dealer and purchaser sign, that is memorializing all of the different information that has been submitted as part of the voucher request. Once it's signed, now the voucher has actually been issued, and then the purchaser can make final payment and take delivery of their equipment.
All right, so Lauren has a couple other follow-on questions under the same portion of the implementation manual. Are terms and conditions being signed electronically, or does the dealer have to scan and submit signed documents back to CARB?
All the terms and conditions are sent through our voucher processing center and form stack, and so it's all electronic. And a version is sent to the dealer to sign and to the purchaser. And then the notifications of those signatures are automated and sent back to the program administrator. So there's no scanning of documents for the terms and conditions.
Okay.
And then, sorry, Jacob, on that note, for a lot of these are implementation questions that will also be covered in the training once the manufacturers and dealers apply to participate in the core program.
Correct. Yeah, all this will be very much focused on during our dealer trainings.
Gotcha.
And another question from Lauren on under the same part of the voucher process. Is your expectation the order for the equipment is to be placed after the voucher has been issued and the dealer and purchaser were notified to complete the transaction?
The order for the equipment will take place at the same time or before the voucher is actually submitted, because a purchase order is required to submit a voucher. So those kind of happen in tandem.
Okay, another question from Lauren Elkin. Right now, there are only 3 air districts, Santa Barbara, San Joaquin Valley, and South Coast, that have commercial rebate programs in place for zero-emission landscaping equipment. How can we stack a voucher if the air district announces the rebate program after we have submitted or received our voucher?
So there are other districts that received so this year there's 19 districts that received additional funding for lawn and garden equipment, so professional landscaping equipment. So what they're going to be doing with their programs, they're trying to figure those out, and the rollout for those will happen based on what we're doing here in core. So if we can stack them, great. That's why we have 6 months open. We really don't know in terms of what the uptake of the program will look like. And that's hoping that it goes great, and maybe we can stack, maybe we can't, but we don't really know yet until we get to the end of all of the $30 million. So we shall see.
Okay, I think we're going to pause now and switch back to our raised hands.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, give me one quick second. We're going over to raised hands and take a look at our participant list. I've got Kurt Wyman. Go ahead and open up your mic.
Hi, a simple question. The sole proprietor, small business, I'm a nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Do we qualify?
Are you a professional landscaper?
Yes, as a part of our business, we do landscaping. We've got 148 employees.
Is that your primary business is landscaping?
As the business itself, no. It's a portion of one of the services we offer. We work for a large homeowners association of 12,000 units. And we provide landscaping services as part of the services we offer.
So
Or
just being, go ahead.
I think, I mean, just based off of the number I just heard of 148, you know, our definition of a small business caps it at 100 employees. So, you know, maybe we can talk directly about some of the nuances, but just based off that information, it doesn't appear that you would be considered a small business because of the number of employees that you have.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like a great program. Just we don't, you know, us being a nonprofit, we don't have profits to base it on. We're limited funds as it is. So this would be great for us to meet the requirements.
We've mentioned this earlier, and kind of connecting up with other comments that there are local air district programs and also Moyer funding available for other folks outside this program. So I don't know what air district you're in, but you might want to reach out to them. If you don't know what air district you're on, you can always reach out to me. I'll help you find out.
Yeah, I'm in South Coast.
Okay, so yeah, so South Coast is a great program. They've had it for many years, very successful. They could definitely help you get some zero emission equipment in your hands.
Right, it's not as good as this, but it is good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Let's go to Christian Neeson. Christian, I am going to unmute your line. Christian, you might need to unmute your microphone. Okay, we'll go ahead.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yes.
Yep, I'm here. So I've been in business for 20 years here in north of San Francisco. And I've paid my dues as far as getting a landscape license, which I know is not required for maintenance, required by law to have insurance if I have employees working for me. So I'm worried about the situation as far as people going out who has a business card, which anybody can get, and accept, you know, and get 70% off tools when they don't have the overhead that a lot of companies do have. And we stated last time, I know there's a couple of people who stated last time that as far as I'm concerned, it should be a requirement to prove either you have insurance, a C-27 license, those would be the two that are required. A business license in the city that you do business in, you don't need to prove. Or also documentation from the state of California showing that you are a registered business. I just don't think it's fair for people who've been in business for a long time and charge what we have to stay in business when there's people out there charging half the amount, and all they have to do is show a business license or a business card. I think it's a joke.
Thank you so much for your comment.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Let's go on to Kim Alexander. Kim, I'm gonna open up your mic.
Thank
Kim,
you.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Thank you. Thanks for this meeting today, and thanks for being responsive to public input. It's been great to watch how this project has evolved over the last couple months. I did want to say that I was happy to see the documentation requirements for the small proprietors. I think it's appropriate that since we have many unlicensed mom and pop gardeners operating in my community in Sacramento, that providing a simple way for them to take advantage of this program is really beneficial to their health and to the health of the communities that they serve. And I was glad to see that you would require that such applicants would also be required to have attestation from one of your dealers that they are in fact an operating business in a sole proprietor business in the community. So I thought that was a good approach to that that challenge of trying to deal with the large number of unlicensed lawn care providers in our state. So I want to thank you for that. I did drop in the chat in the Q&A just one last ditch effort to ask you to consider increasing the amount that would be available for backpack blowers. I have looked at the prices for what those cost. You know, the better varieties like Husqvarna, which is considered one of the better manufacturers, is $1,500. So a $400 incentive is definitely not hitting that 70% mark. And even if you could notch it up to 500, I think it would really help get more people using that tool, which I think would provide the most support for the operators, for their health and for community health. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that a lot of the operators, the sole proprietor operators who will want to take advantage of this program, many of them don't use the web on a computer. They're using it on their smartphones. So as you're making the documentation for this program, like this attachment D that you shared today, I went and looked at it on my smartphone. It was very hard to read on a smartphone, and you can design documents for the web that are responsive to the platform that they're being viewed upon. And so I would just urge you to think about how to provide the material for this program in a format online that will be easy for people to read on smartphones. Thanks.
Thank you so much for those comments, Kim. Appreciate it.
Kim.
And Shari Rodriguez, I'm going to go ahead and open up your mic.
Unmute. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, Sherry Rodriguez for Versailles. I apologize. I believe I did miss a work group because prior, I believe that the consumer was required to get approval before they walked in the dealer. And it seems like, has that changed a little bit?
Yeah, I don't think we had that requirement. I think
Okay.
what it was is these have been point of sale vouchers that were basically intended person can walk in. I think one of the things that we did want to take into consideration was the availability of the product and understanding the current market conditions, that someone could go in and place the order and the item would arrive and they would be able to basically lock in their purchase until for that product to arrive. And I hope that answered your question.
So would it be easier for it to be required to be a repeat customer for the dealer? Because then the dealer can easily attest for that customer without, with the documentation. It just
the idea, so if you recall from some of our earlier meetings, some of the comments that we received were, that there are relationships that are established through, if you're in this business, you're going to this person, this business quite a bit, and so that dealer knows you and has a relationship with you. And so what and I know that there's some concern with some of the folks who may be listening in as to how this is this would work. Keep in mind that the dealer makes its money by selling equipment. And obviously there's a huge incentive to participating in core and selling this equipment. So if we were to identify that there was inappropriate use of this program and that we would take that away, and clearly that is not, and also look at potential penalties for the manufacturer. We don't want to go down that road. The manufacturer doesn't want to go down that road, and the dealer wants to continue to sell these products to their customers. And so we want it to be known all the way through that line, from the manufacturer to the user, that this process, though it's there, is not intended to be abused, and we will take corrective action as necessary to make sure that this process is protected.
Yes, and most point of sale systems and certain manufacturers require that you have the name and address of the consumer in selling a unit for recall purposes and whatnot. So if you wanted, what if you wanted to, you know, since there is an inventory problem still on certain things and batteries, if you wanted just to supply your current customers? Because if you can't vouch for that customer that walked in the door that you've never met before.
So the dealer attestation is at the prerogative of the dealer. They don't have to attest if they don't know them. That's up to the dealer. So that'll all go over. That'll be all included in the training as they apply to the program and they understand how the program works. It's not that they have to. It's going to be up to them. It's an attestation.
Okay.
And I think what we're really trying to do here is trying to make this as easy as possible for the consumer to walk in, get the equipment, get the discount. The dealer, the workload of this is on the dealer to make sure the paperwork is correct and work through the voucher process. That's why they have to go through the training class, they go in the testing and everything. So the heavy lift is on the dealer and not so much on the owner.
Yeah.
Yes, the heavy lift is on the dealer. So is the dealer required to keep the documentation of the consumer for a certain period of time?
All the documentation is stored in our online voucher processing center, which is a Salesforce-based platform that all the major corporations, use. We have certain security protocols. We do collect, that boilerplate information that you're referring to about the purchaser, their business name, their address, all that information is collected by the dealer into our system, and it is stored and kept.
So we could destroy it on our end after we give it to you. I mean, because it's either scanned or incorrect or.
Yeah, it'll all be uploaded. So the physical documents that the dealer would have, yes, they could choose to
shred it. Yeah. And so is the dealer going to be required to take in a dead and battery? Is that what I understood in the recycle program?
Well, no. But the whole point of even in the manufacturer application, as well as in the dealership application for the end of life and the battery, is just for information sharing. We just need to know what the process is. We want to make sure that everybody knows that. That's not a requirement, I believe, for the dealers to participate.
Okay.
But if you do it, we would love to know that.
Yeah. Also, is the dealer required? I read something when I scanned the work group about the following year doing a survey after the equipment is sold, or?
So the manufacturer is required to put together annual usage survey of the equipment that's gone through the program. So that manufacturer will work alongside with the program administrator and CARB to put together that survey, and then it will be sent out, to the dealers and purchasers. So it's more at the manufacturer level, but there will be some need and participation from dealers.
Yeah.
In that process.
Okay, I do have a concern with some of the follow-up that the dealer is going to have to do. I mean, it takes, even with the bid assist program, which is just what the manufacturers give to, say, cities or nonprofits, and you have to make sure the the equipment's been registered. You have to, you know, it's a simpler process, but if you're going to be getting all these vouchers, you know, the dealer is letting the equipment go out the door with only getting 30% of that equipment. And they're going to have to wait for the 70% and just, you know, is there a program in place that the dealer is going to be assured that money is going to come back to them? And what is the turnaround time?
So in regards to the funding, just for context, you know, the Air Resources Board and their program administrators administer hundreds of millions or billions of dollars through this method. Once a voucher is issued to a purchaser, the funding is guaranteed. As long as there's been, you know, there's no fraud, there's nothing discovered that would, you know, deem them ineligible, the funding is guaranteed. So once all the redemption paperwork is submitted, we typically cut a check within 5 days. And so right now, if we got a redemption paperwork for a forklift that's $300,000, 5 days later, we're typically cutting a check. And I'm referring to our heavy duty program, and our intent and what we state in the implementation manual is very similar. I think we say 14 days in the implementation manual for this equipment that we would pay it out. So
and why not have the dealer hang on to the equipment until it's the full piece of equipment unit is funded, and then have the consumer pick it up?
I mean, that's not how it's structured. The payment and delivery must take place. You submitting as a dealer, the redemption paperwork is really happening at the same time. The last final step in the redemption paperwork is uploading, you know, the final sell transaction, like proof of payment. So technically, like, that could all be happening kind of at the same time. It's not really happening in silos. But there is a review time frame that needs to take place, you know, administratively, and then, you know, cut his check and mailed to the dealer. So,
okay.
All right, thank you so much, Sherry, for your
Okay,
comments.
thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. I've got just a few more here. I've got Jim, guest for Jim. I'm going to unmute your mic. Oh. Go ahead, Jim. Jim, you still with us? If you need to, you might want to check and see if your mic is unmuted.
Sorry about that. It must have muted again. Could you guys please define what you mean by power management equipment? On the table on page D4.
Yeah, so power management equipment we're looking at is, so that'd be something that you could put multiple batteries in at the same time, so that you could charge all of them at the same simultaneously. So there's a couple of different companies out there that have, you know, power management systems that could put, you know, 4, 6, 8 batteries in at different charging levels, and it'll charge them all up at the same time. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, so it's just a multi-battery charger.
Right.
Okay. The second question is really a follow-up to some of the questions that have been asked about the user experience survey. So is that generally, if you've got a piece of equipment that's qualifies for this program and it's sold in all 50 states, are you just looking for a user experience survey with us collecting data about that product specifically, or does it have to be tied to all of the users who purchased that equipment in California and got the voucher? Like, do we have to go track them down through our dealers and get their specific feedback, or can we just collect all the information we have about that particular model of equipment and compile that to say generally in the marketplace the feedback we're getting about it?
I don't know where Jacob is. I think that it's actually the units that get the vouchers, because we want to make sure that the publicly funded pieces of equipment are being used as they were intended.
Okay, so if we have 300, you know, in the case of some of the smaller equipment, if we have 300 or 400 customers in California who all purchase one of those pieces of equipment. We actually have to reach back out to them through the dealers and get their specific feedback, compile all that, and then turn that around and summarize it for Carb and CalStart.
Correct.
That's
And-
correct.
I think
And
so.
Jim, we can, like I mentioned earlier to the other OEM, we can work through some of those details, with Carb and CalStart through your equipment eligibility application. We're really looking for, a narrative in that section and some metrics of the different, items that the manufacturer would like to, produce in their summary, and we'll provide our input as well. And keep in mind, we will have that purchaser information as well at the program administrator level. So, we can talk details, but we can work with the OEMs on that particular requirement.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
And
you.
one last question, if I could. So in the case of something like a ride-on or stand-on or stand-ride mower, as you call it, where those are sold with multiple batteries and a charger together, would the manufacturer just separately state the manufacturer's suggested retail price of each of those batteries to kind of stack the rebate that one customer could get if they were to walk out the door with a ride-on mower?
So Jim, for your example, if you have a ride-on mower right now that has, let's say, like detachable batteries, they're not built into the machine,
Correct.
then I would suggest, yes, you apply for those on their own as their own SKU with their own cost. So that it would fall under that, greater than 700, I'm assuming the 700 watt hour line item, and then they could get up to $3,000 or 70%. If it's a ride-on mower where the battery's like integrated into the actual equipment, then it's just going to be the price of that equipment 70% up to the cap. It doesn't appear in that case there is an opportunity for an extra battery. If the OEM sells one, then I guess maybe there is, but those ones are actually integrated into the equipment, so it's kind of different. But
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for your comment, Jim. We've got two more raised hands here. I'm going to go with Brandon and Ron, and then we'll go switch back over to some of our written comments. Brandon Glover, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your line. Please let us know who you're with and your comment.
Hey, everybody. This is Brandon Glover with Still. Hey, thank you, Todd, Eloy, Tess, and Jacob. I know over the 4 last work groups, you guys have done quite a bit. So I appreciate a lot of the comments that we've been able to make and everybody. So I'm kind of happy with kind of where we're at. There's always things that could be changed, but I'm grateful for what you guys have put into it. I do have a question, though. It seems like you guys have pushed this pretty quick at the end and you want to do it in November, but I don't know, maybe you can give it the reasoning behind why you want it so fast. If we could push it off till the first of the year, we could probably get in a lot of the air district and with all their scrapping programs and do it at the same time. So you'd be allow it to stack together. I guess the question is why is the push to start it in November and not wait another month or two? So it could be in line with the other air districts.
Yeah, I don't know the timing for the air districts programs because they're all so different. My concern is this for our program that's specific to small businesses and sole proprietors is I want to make sure that we have time to adjust to the program as necessary for outreach for all of the purchasers. And so we need to do it. We've had these dollars from last fiscal year. So I want to just make sure that the program launches as soon as possible, actually. We've been getting a lot of inquiries from the legislative authorities for these dollars of like, how's it going? So we kind of really do need to launch.
Yeah. My suggestion would be to kind of look at that. I mean, I know that's important for you, but I think we would, especially with landscapers and gardeners, it would be the best bang for their buck if they could stack them together. And that's really, it would incentivize people to actually trade out their equipment. I mean, I think you're going to get most of the funding done, but if we can get and go after those people that probably wouldn't be part of the program, I think that's really the way to do it. So maybe if you can look at that again. The other thing I wanted to ask about, and I've heard it both ways now, and I just want to make sure that, you know, to see what you guys, when you talk about the voucher amount. So some people are saying it's 70% off of the retail price, and or is it 70% or is it 30% off of the retail price?
So 70% off the manufacturer's MSRP.
Okay. And I just want to make sure to clarify that. Okay. And then the other thing I had for you is on the user experience, just dealing with end users all the time. We have, I guess, just doing this for a long period of time with gardeners and doing programs is reaching out to them after they've actually bought the equipment. Sometimes it's easy. Most of the time it's very hard. A lot of these guys change phone numbers over time, or they kind of move around, even though they might be within, you know, California still. And so, you know, going after them and getting them to do a survey might be hard. I mean, we have different ways that we can do that, and I feel pretty confident, but I don't know what kind of percentage you guys are looking at, but it is going to be a little bit of a challenge. And especially, you know, most of these people are, you know, they're some of them are bilingual, some only speak, you know, Spanish, or so these are some of the things I guess we'd have to consider. And it sounded like you guys are willing to work with us, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys had what you guys thoughts were on that.
Yeah, Brandon, this is obviously a very important concept for, it sounds like, a lot of the OEMs that we're hearing today. And so we'll take the feedback that we're hearing and work with you through that equipment eligibility application. You know, this was one of the items in the draft that was released. So we do appreciate everyone's opportunity to review that and then this final version. And we will work with all the OEMs through the equipment eligibility application process to find, you know, some ground that we all can agree on related to the user experience report.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Brandon, thank you so much for your comment. Ron Aslan, you're the last raised hand, and then we're going to switch over to our written comments. Ron, go ahead.
Hi, this is Ron Asklin with ST Sequel. Really wanted to congratulate the team on the progress you've made, and really impressed with the website also. I played with it a little bit today, so very nice. I wanted to echo what Kim Alexander said, though. I think the backpack leaf blowers $400 limit is too low. It probably should be at least twice that. This is the #1 problem area I think we've got. It's really terrible for worker health because they're breathing in all those fumes. It's noisy. It's the one that's probably causing the worst smog pollution due to its emissions. So I think that's the only thing I would argue, is that backpack leaf blowers are probably our biggest problem, and it's too low. So that's my feedback, and you know, maybe you could still make a change.
Right. I would just want to reiterate that is for the unit itself. It does not include the battery. So that is just the blower itself, and obviously there's the additional dollars for the specific battery that the unit would use.
So it's not. What if it's sold as a kit?
So the and I don't know if Matt.
If it's sold, sure. If it's sold as a kit, which the backpack blowers are typically not, is our understanding, the kit is limited to the tool price.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a la carte, somebody buys the backpack unit, they buy, you know, multiple, you know, backpacks, you know, large batteries up to $3,000 in voucher amounts, then they can select a separate charger. And if they need, they can get separate dollars for a power distribution system if needed. Those are all additive to that initial up to $400. Is that understood?
Yeah, I would defer to the manufacturers. So they would know way more than me. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ron. I really appreciate your comment. And this is kind of a good transition here. So Matt, I'll let you take over some of those written comments.
Sure. Our next one is from Lauren Elkin. The question is, since California voters approved the right of privacy, the California legislature has adopted specific mechanisms to safeguard Californians' privacy, including the Online Privacy Protection Act, the Privacy Rights for California Minors in the Digital World Act, and Shine the Light. a California law intended to give Californians the who, what, when, where of how businesses handle consumers' personal information. Why is there nothing addressing the required legal disclosure information on the purchaser voucher requests we are submitting to the dealer and in turn to CARB?
I'm a little confused as to the statement only because we're specifically the program is specifically for commercial entities. So they should be all business owners. So I'm a little confused by the question. And then Jacob, if you can go a little bit over your voucher processing center, because I do believe that that's just typical practice for all of the data collection and data storage.
Yeah, well, there's certain data that is definitely protected and private. We don't happen to really collect any private information. It's all public, really, information that is subject to a public records request and the Freedom of Information Act. So I'm not really sure what all of this is referring to, but we appreciate your comment and we'll definitely look into it.
Our next question comes from Eric Muth. Will unlicensed contractors be able to participate and have access to these funds? And the second part to this is the same businesses that do not pay taxes, do not pay payroll taxes, do not provide workers' comp, and do not follow and provide legally mandated benefits. And Eric's affiliation is Oxbow Pool and Landscape Contractors in Napa, California.
So yeah, so I think Jacob went over the requirements for participation in the program. I think it was pretty clear. It's in the final IM. So yes, if you're a contractor, you can provide your contract license. At a minimum, it could go down to a business license and an attestation from the dealership.
The next question is from Greg Knott with OPEI. The appendix requests a lot of information. What is the criteria for each piece of information to be accepted?
I think Greg might be referring specifically to the equipment eligibility application based off of his affiliation. Matt, do you want to?
Sure. The manufacturer's application asks for some very specific information and others that are a little bit more narrative in how we're expecting manufacturers to address them. If manufacturers have specific requirements regarding questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to discuss that. And for some, there is a range of acceptable level of detail that we would accept. And a lot of these we're trying to learn and understand and make a differentiation on what is commercial and professional available equipment, which is why we're asking a number of these questions. Next question is actually there's one more from Greg Knott. And his question was specific to the manufacturer information requested to use the term product eligibility. So yes. So again, Greg, if manufacturers have specific questions, they're free to reach out. Next question is from Kurt Wyman. Is this limited to only sole proprietors / small businesses? We are a nonprofit mutual benefit corporation.
Yeah, I think he asked his question.
I think we touched that on that one already.
Okay. Next question is from Joe Golden. Will there be more funding in general beyond the 30 million? Who approves something like this?
Well, that's a good question. So this funding was approved through the California legislature through the SB 170 funding to provide funding for zero emission landscape equipment for small business sole proprietors. So we're following that legislation. I don't know if it's going to go beyond this 30 million. We have to wait to see what the legislature determines, but that's where we're at right now.
Okay, next question is from Gary Besser. Is the incentive structure going to be the same for the rest of the incentive money the state has set aside? I understand this is total 30 million. Also, are the plans for additional funds in the future? I read a statistic that 30 million is enough money to give every landscaper in the state a 50% coupon for one tool. I think with this amount of money, a lot of small business owners will still be on the hook for big expenses as more and more judicial jurisdictions ban sword tools.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. It's really difficult to answer because that's why I want to launch the program is we don't have any data to draw from in terms of like the need, the uptake, and what should change in terms of accessibility for the funding. So for now, we don't have any additional funding, but I don't even have enough information for an appropriate feedback on how the program's going or an ask. So I think that's all
good. Carla Wiley is with Rainer Landscaping in Nevada. She's asking, will we get a copy of the slides?
So right now, there's a copy of the slides posted on the core webpage, on the CalSTART webpage already. If you can't find that, send me an email at todd.sterling@arb.ca.gov, and I'll be happy to send you a copy or a link to those slides.
All right, and this was from, we already addressed this, was Kim Alexander's question regarding the incentive amount for backpack blowers. Again, if it's a bare tool, we fund up to $400, up to $3,000 for the large batteries, in addition to funding for the chargers. For this as an example, so end user can get a significant amount of money potentially for this purchase. The next question is from Mohammed Abdwan. Hello, is there opportunities to promote the electric equipment if we are a landscaping professional with a C27 license? Can we be a dealer as a landscape contractor? Will we be required to store heavy equipment, or we order from manufacturer, or just provide training? We have a storefront and a lot of people in our area is not aware of these opportunities.
Well, there's lots of questions there. Can we be a dealer as a landscape contractor? So I'll leave that question with Jacob. Could they be a dealer and a landscape contractor? I don't know if we've run into that before.
I mean, I guess it's possible. We'd have to learn more about your dealership and how you operate as a dealer. We do. It's possible. It sounds like based off of the comments, no, but I mean there could be a dealer that operates a landscaping business as well. So feel free to reach out to us, and we can figure out if you meet the dealer level responsibilities.
Second part of your question, are we required to store the heavy equipment, or do we order from the manufacturer? As a dealer, you need to work with the manufacturer to get the equipment to you. So there's the manufacturers have eligible equipment on the core webpage, and eligible, and they also work with their dealers to be eligible dealers. So they'll go both ways. We also want to have in-state entities that folks can walk into and get to provide training. So we hope that works for you also. And you said that you have a storefront opportunity. Yes, as many folks you can reach out to and get this information to, we'd appreciate it. Right now on the core webpage, we have some handouts that you can print out and hand out to your customers for if they need more information on the core program. We have one in English and one in Spanish. That's a good way to get information out to folks that don't understand this program.
I'd also like to reiterate that even all dealers must receive authorization from each individual manufacturer to participate in the program as well. And so, you would need to be working with those manufacturers and receive authorization from them to participate.
All right, next question is, or comment is from Kathleen Keehan. Can you please emphasize that those district programs require you to scrap your old equipment? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. That is a good point. The most of the like Moyer and Air District programs require scrappage. And scrappage is say you want to get a weed whacker or trimmer, you'd have to bring in a current or older IC engine to replace the piece of equipment that's incentivized.
Next comment is from Chris Bentz. I'd like to second the request to make information available on smartphones.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Next question is from Joe Golden. What is typical voucher approval timing?
Jacob, do you want to tackle this? I think you touched on this earlier.
Yeah, so from the time a voucher is submitted and is complete, and the review has taken place and where the voucher is issued, is really going to be dependent on, I think, a lot of volume of what we see and what uptake we see in the program. But typically we like to be, anywhere from the, 14, I'm going to give a wide range, but the 14 to 60 day mark from voucher submittal. It really just depends on a multitude of factors and the specifics of the information submitted as part of each voucher request and the verification process of, their status as a small business and their status as a professional landscaper.
All right, next comment is from Michael Becerra. Our company has 1,200 employees. What I'm hearing here is we are not eligible for this program, but eligible for other programs through, in our case, South Coast AQMD. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct. This program is for small businesses, sole proprietors. This is coming right from the SB 170 language, and that's what this program is based around.
And next comment is from Lauren Elkin. On the purchaser voucher, you might want to add a line indicating the title of the individual signing the document, example, vice president, president, owner, etc.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
Next comment is from Chris Benz. I agree with delayed launch date till January in order to do outreach. We are working on a stackable rebate in Napa, as well as a widespread bilingual outreach, and would like more time. Thank you. Next comment is from Sherry Rodriguez. Batteries sold separately, and this might have been a response to the discussion about backpack blowers, I'm assuming. All right. So next we have Greg Knott. Says, I did reach out to you with questions and you did not answer them. And Greg, we have received your questions, so we will get back to you with responsive answers shortly. Next comment is from Carl Schlenker. My understanding is that we must purchase equipment from authorized dealers. I'm interested in landscaping equipment. However, the list of authorized dealers only seems to be heavy equipment retailers.
Right.
Yeah.
So for this side of the program, the professional landscaper side of the program, we will open it up to get eligible dealers into this program starting tomorrow, and same with the eligible equipment. So we're just starting out that process right now, Carl. So look on the webpage here in a few weeks, and hopefully there'll be a couple of equipment dealers on there at that point.
Yeah, just to clarify as well, the voucher request part of the process is not open yet. So the money is not available yet. Right now, what we're doing is accepting equipment eligibility applications from manufacturers. to come into the program and dealers to come into the program. Once we do that, then we will actually open voucher requests, money on the streets, they say, and dealers can submit vouchers for purchasers. That's coming later.
All right, 1 second here. And Carl Sinker also asks, where can I find authorized dealer for landscaping tools?
So again, I think we just answered that question. As soon as we, tomorrow we open up for, to get eligible dealers into the program. As soon as those dealers become authorized, they'll be listed on the webpage.
I think that actually answers, there's a couple questions that are very similar to that. So if we want to just go through those names kind of quickly and just say that we've answered that question or that comment already, or that question, that would be useful.
Yes, and we have another question here from Lisa Williams, climate activist, regarding soonest date the dealers could supply equipment to an end user. Just answered that. And then Ron Aslan has an example from a manufacturer, Husqvarna, which looks to be a kitted backpack blower that does in fact appear to cost $1,500. Again, Ron, I don't think that we had recognized some of these larger, higher price kits. We will work with all manufacturers to see what a la carte tool and battery products there are. But for the combination kits, we did hold that limit at those lower voucher amounts. The next is from Joe Loxterkamp. Someone asked earlier if dealers are supposed to keep the paper records of each transaction. I thought I heard the question to be that once the documentation was uploaded, a dealer can discard the papers. According to sentence 9 in section 2 of the manufacturer and dealer terms and conditions on page D5, the dealer is required to maintain written records for the duration of the project, approximately 2 years.
Yes, that is accurate, Joe. Thank you for pointing that out. I thought we were talking longer term. So yeah, you do need to keep paper records during the project participation period, which is a 2-year requirement for the purchaser. And that's why we require the records to be kept by the dealers and manufacturers for that amount of time as well. So thank you for pointing that out.
The next question is from Bob Edwards. Do you receive the voucher before you buy and then give it to the seller at the time of purchase? Or how does it work?
Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to reread your question. So yeah, you will work, the purchaser will work with the dealer, submit the voucher request. Once it's approved, they'll actually get a voucher. The purchaser and the dealer will get a voucher, and then they can make the final sales transaction and take delivery. So you do need an issued voucher before you make a final payment and take delivery of equipment.
And our last question that's been submitted is from Greg Knott. How many dealers are in California and how many do you anticipate will participate?
Well, if you have a crystal ball, we would love to know. There's thousands of dealers and maintenance repair shops in the state. We anticipate a high volume, and we'll be discovering that in the coming weeks and months. So,
all right, that concludes the list of submitted Q&A. I take that back. We have one more that was just submitted from Lauren Elkin. It reads, if you are opening up the registration for dealers beginning September 22nd, that gives dealers 5 weeks to register before you start the program. Does not give dealers a lot of time. Starting later in November, early December might be better.
Yeah, I think that we've been working with CalStart really closely, trying to we have some classes already set up, and we have those like once a week leading up to the kickoff date to get the dealers on board. And once they get on board, pass the test, it's pretty easy to get them onto the website so they'd be eligible dealers. So it is a short period of time. We've been hearing from both sides that one, we're not going fast enough, and now we're hearing we're going too fast. So we would like to get this program launched. We need to get these pieces of equipment in the hands of professional landscapers and get this program launched. So thanks for your comment. And Jacob, you want anything about the dealer training?
Yeah, I think it's a very valid comment. We appreciate it. We have been working vigorously on the materials for dealers. Like Todd said, we will be holding 5 dealer training information four during the month of October. And then we'll be holding 3 what we're calling dealer webinars the week prior to launching vouchers in November. And so there'll be 7 different opportunities for dealers to sit through training, and of course we'll meet with our dealers one-on-one if they have specific questions or need more support. And so we're confident that the dealers will have the tools they need and resources to be prepared for opening date of vouchers. So
no more written questions.
Okay. Eloy, do we have any other raised hands?
No more raised hands. Just going to put it out one more time. If you have any questions or comments, you'd like to go ahead and be one of the brave folks who speaks verbally, you're welcome to do so at this time. If you'd like to write in your comment, you're welcome to do so. And if not, we will go ahead and end our meeting. Todd, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, if there's no more comments or questions, as always, appreciate everybody's input into this process. A lot of you have been to all 4 work group meetings. You should get a gold star for that. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for all your comments and input. Really, really appreciate that. And I think it made the final implementation manual a really good document that we can really launch this new program to really reduce emissions, not only for people that don't use this equipment, but people who use this equipment daily. So thank you very much. With that, we will close the work group meeting. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.